Welcome, everybody, to the Crikeycast. And this is the podcast with a difference. I'm going in on the Crikey album that came out a few days ago. And Crikey is Yikes, aged 10 years. So I've gone back into every tune, into the multi-track projects, and applied a better pair of ears and a kind of better brain, really, to the mix sounds. They're not as loud, but they're a lot more detailed. So anyway, this podcast, I am joined by Elsa Esmeralda, who has very kindly sent in a load of kind of thoughts of hers about the writing process and about each song that we got together. And also, you've been very kind. You, the listeners, have been very kind to send in questions. So you are, in effect, interviewing me. Okay. Right, let's get stuck in. Kitty Green says, is there ever an end date in sight for when you decided to step back for good? Or will you always make music? That is a really good question, Kitty. I will always make music. Always. But I can use this opportunity just to tell you and tell everyone I am stepping back from the running of Hospital Records for so many reasons. My job is done there, and after 25 years I really need, for the sake of my spirit and my soul, I need a new challenge. So yeah, I'm gonna gather all my creative energies together and apply those to my musical journey. Now, I will obviously always be involved in Hospital Records as an artist and as a shareholder, but the day-to-day runnings, no. I described it recently to someone. They said, why? And I said, well, for the last 5 years, it's felt like I've been on the most amazing hamster wheel in the world. And very stressful because the release schedule is huge. And there's so much product going out. And I can, having done every single job in the company and then delegated, everything apart from artwork, I'm crap at artwork. Chris Goss is brilliant at that. I just realised that I was actually, believe it or not, getting bored. Not content to rest on my laurels. Anyway, that's the answer to your shout, Kitty. But let's see what Elsa's got to say, shall we?
I'd like to say something about what it's like to write with Tony. For me, it's been the best writing school I could ever have wished for. I hadn't really had much official training in songwriting, and believe it or not, I really didn't think that I was able to write songs, even though I'd managed to write a couple already.
What?
But the fact that he listened to what I came up with and was interested and encouraged me has meant the world to me. It really made a huge difference for me in terms of how I looked upon myself.
Bless you, Elsa.
So thank you, Tony. Writing together has been a great experience. It was so much fun. It was really inspiring.
Oh, now Elsa, that's absolutely wicked. Elsa's going to comment on each tune. And we're going to go on a journey through, I think, probably the first 10 or so tracks of Crikey. And let's start with the plan that cannot fail. Have any of you asked anything about any of this? Let's see. I've divided general questions and track-specific questions. Let's have a look. Okay, this is not going to be rushed, this podcast. Take your time, buckle in. It's going to be quite an in-depth documentary in a way. So, the plan that cannot fail. Fred V says, when I hear the plan that cannot fail, I've always imagined it being played as a spaceship taking off, never to return, and all the crew members are looking back at Earth, feeling grateful for all their amazing memories, but knowing they can never return. Does this resonate with you, or is your plan something completely different? That's a really interesting interpretation, Fred. I mean, I certainly went on an incredibly amazing journey making this tune. Someone else asked something that was quite relevant to this, actually. Ryan Shell says, are there any moments during the production of Yikes or Crikey that stand out to you? Well, yeah, making the plan was it's quite a rare example where I totally hit the flow state as a composer and a producer. What you hear in this composition, I wasn't thinking about it at all. It just came out. And I think that's why it holds together so well. It's one of my best kind of like melodic and harmonic compositions, I think. Anyway, here's the plan that cannot fail. And Christopher Snowball says, Tony, I think I remember you saying in a podcast at the time that the inspiration for the plan that cannot fail came up from the CBBC programme Rasta Mouse. Have I just made that up? No, you didn't. That's how I got the title. Woo! Sorry. It's a bit dusty at this end of my studio. Yeah, Rasta Mouse. There was an episode called The Plan That Cannot Fail. And that title I used to read that to the chairman when he was little, and that title just stuck with me. It's a brilliant title. And I mentioned earlier the flow state of composition. For me, it doesn't come that often. And tunes where I've definitely been in that position. Song in the Key of Knife. Fast soul music. I'm hoping that if you can be bothered, which I don't expect anyone to compare this to the Yikes version, you can just hear like a bit more of the guitar themes. There's some really nice underlying guitar themes that I think I buried in the first version. Anyway, I'm perfectly happy for you to prefer the originals. That's okay. Completely understandable, to be honest. Flesh music now. This is a tune that I didn't nail the mix down at all, I don't think, in Yikes. Really enjoyed doing it this time around. Emmy Lohan says, or Johan, "Hey Tony, loving the rework. When you make a track, do you already have the name of it in mind, or do you name it based on how it sounds after it's complete? How does it make you feel?" This tune, it just kind of, when I was making it, because the original version, I hadn't found this sample yet for it, so it was quite fortuitous. When I was remaking it, I thought, yeah. I basically saw like a room full of writhing bodies. I know. No, but I did. Flesh. And my memories of making this tune, almost a flow state situation, because I don't know what I wasn't trying to achieve anything, and I don't before I start a tune. That's why sometimes they sound like they come out of nowhere, because they always do, because they're not made for the dance floor. So that's why this has got a kind of evolving, slightly strange structure. But I was really into Deadmau5, his first album, when I made this. And that that synth, if you listen to it in isolation, it's very much inspired by Deadmau5. So I guess I thought a collision of that with a sort of good-looking-y type of vibe felt good. It's like a juxtaposition. Now, the next tune is Around the World in a Day, which I've uploaded the track breakdown of this. I think it's on Hospital Records YouTube. I'll put it on mine as well. But yeah, if you haven't watched that, then I can briefly tell you how it evolved. I actually started this in 1978 when I was 17. And I actually did a version that contains all of these compositional elements. And then I taught it to my first band, who were called Limbs in Action, at the beginning of the 80s when I was at college. And I did a recording of it, and it's terrible. But it's there, and you can see that in the kind of the track teardown video. Hear it. And then finally I kind of like got it to sound exactly how I wanted it to sound for Yikes. Well, actually no, for Crikey, because I didn't nail it at all. I particularly didn't nail the drums. I didn't get enough space in it. But you'll hear that I've sort of sorted that out now. But meanwhile, let's see if there's any questions. In fact, oh yeah, here we go. Alex Teddy Bear Waddleton, good name. How did you discover Elsa Esmeralda? Her vocals are stunning, and why isn't she famous because of it? Well, I failed in that respect. She should be famous, obviously. Go on, Elsa. I discovered her when she was doing vocals for Swell Session. I think she was about 17 years old, and they came over and did a show in Notting Hill. And it was when, in the early days of Hospital, when Chris and I were really into broken beat and kind of new jazz as well. And they came from that kind of jazz camp. And I was really blown away by Elsa's vocals then, and wanted an excuse to work with her. And Just 1 Second was that excuse. So I won't go into that because that tune's not on this album. But there's a good story there, which you probably heard somewhere along the line. Let's hear from Elsa.
Round the World in a Day. So the lyrics go, going to the west. As I recall, that's got several different connotations for me, but it was inspired by the fact that during the time when it was written, I had a part-time job in a bar in Angel, and I would cycle there from Hackney. Towards Angel, you're going to the west. You're going towards the sunset. And on my bike, I was just feeling so euphoric cycling towards the sunset every evening to go to my bar shift. It was just a time of anticipation, of feeling really happy about life. It's a wild song. Music-wise, I think it's fascinating. I really dig it, not just because it's a good song in itself, but also because I'm super interested in the songs that we made that aren't clear-cut drum and bass tunes, but more of a fusion between genres.
Thank you, Elsa. And here we go, Round the World in a Day, featuring Elsa Esmeralda. And that was news to me, because I always thought, I don't know, in my head, and I was obviously in the studio with Elsa when we recorded it and finished the lyrics and everything, but I always thought she was talking about a sort of Scandinavian exodus, like when the Vikings invaded the West. Because Elsa's Swedish, if you don't know. And that's actually what I thought this was about, sort of that, and also music bringing Elsa to the West. But it wasn't. It was a bike ride in London. Massive shout to Kevin Sorka on drums. Absolutely nailed this remotely. And Kevin, I've finally got the drum sound right, and your performance was incredible. Check this out, everybody. God, I'd love to play this live. I get it now. It's all about flat hunting. Finally nailed that after so many decades. It's kind of weird. Like 34 years it's taken to nail that tune. So yeah, don't give up. If you've got an idea and you can't realise it, keep trying. If you know it's good in the first place, you'll get there in the end. Okay, Yikes, the title track for Yikes. And I've added drums to the intro of this. It just sounds a whole lot better to me. It's one of my rare Amen tracks. So some slightly random shouts. Julianne Lucian says, have you ever considered coming to Mexico? I've always wanted to. It never happened. And one of the big changes in my life that's going to happen is I'm not going to tour anymore. I'm 60 now, and I don't really want to behave like an 18-year-old anymore. My family needs me, I need my family, and I need my beauty sleep. And my tunes need me as well. Yeah, I've definitely got the dance floor weight of this now. I couldn't do it 10 years ago, but I've got it now. I'm pleased. I've done a teardown of this, which will be on my YouTube channel by the time you hear this. So yeah, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to do a lot of behind the scenes stuff, I think. There's a lot of musical stories that need to be told. And Gabe Urbanovich, great surname, says, yeah, I have a question. How do you keep your hair so majestic? I'm only at 45 and about 75% of the hair. It's really quite something. Well, I got my dad to thank for that. And my mum. She's not bald either. My dad had a full head of hair when he passed away 5 years ago. And Stegosaurus says, I really did get taken on a beautiful journey with the whole album. I went on a midnight skate, headphones in, listening to every single tune, every single note and key. Thank you for this. Anyway, my question is, what is the release and naming of this album meant to give tribute to, besides the last 10 years flying by so quickly? I remember you saying on a podcast that you would never produce drum and bass again. Is that why it's a rework? It kind of is. I mean, I am going to produce drum and bass, lots of it, but after I finish building Better Worlds, it's safe to say, and if you've been following my socials, you probably know, I had a bit of a meltdown last year. And I couldn't even turn on my studio computer. It was like beyond writer's block. It really wasn't nice. And when I suddenly realised that this album's 10 years old, that Yikes is 10 years old, I just thought, well, this is amazing, because I've actually archived all the tunes anyway so that I can reopen the projects. Why don't I go in and mix them down better, which is something I always wish I'd done. Now's the time to do it as a 10-year celebration. So really, I loved doing this. It gave me a chance to kind of get back on my studio horse, if you like. Yeah, it does smell a bit like a stable up here. Yeah, it was brilliant, actually, absolutely brilliant. And it enabled me to get all my Cubase sorted out, new plugins updated, all of that stuff. I updated to Cubase 11 and I love it. So yeah, I'm now ready to do my first remix and also to start writing properly now. Quite exciting. And yeah, Stecco, it's really all about, I remember when I did the remix album of Yikes, I and afterwards I really wished I'd call it Crikey, because that would have been a better title. Anyway, this is called Crikey, which really follows on from Yikes. And obviously, I really called it Crikey, hoping that it would become quite popular in Australia. Invisible Worlds. This is pretty much my favourite tune on the album, along with The Planet Cannot Fail. Let's see what Elsa's got to say about it.
Invisible Worlds is really hard to sing. I can only blame myself because I wrote that melody, but it's really tough. It's got long notes, it's high pitch. I still really feel super heartbroken when I sing it.
Aww.
It's about when you feel like you're trapped in this superficial dating game, when you're really actually in love with someone and you're just stuck there having to think cynically about everything, when you're really actually an emotional human being.
Elsa, I had no idea. I always thought this was quite a sort of tie between cosmic and emotional and spiritual, which I do believe it is. Now, haven't got the name of the person who sent this shout in, but they said, Invisible Worlds is a trip. When I listen to it, my heart and my mind can't decide whether or not I feel melancholy, hopeful, empathetic, or just solitude. Yeah, that's how I feel, actually. And how do I pronounce this name? El Salvador says, how much of Yikes still resonates with you, with who you are today, given all the experiences that you've had since you wrote it? Can you now look back at the emotional parts from a much more comfortable place? Well, that's a really, really good question. And yes, in 2021, having gone through so many difficult times in 2020, I can really appreciate this. And Invisible Worlds is definitely one of the most emotional parts for me. It's a tune that, a bit like Syncopated City Revisited, I can put it on and really enjoy it for what it is and not have to worry about, oh, I could have done that better. Now, I couldn't have done the original of Invisible Worlds at all better, but thankfully what I put on the album is an amazing orchestral version by Lawrence Tolerance, which he started back in 2010. And finally we've got it finished, and it is absolutely gorgeous. Let's have a listen to it.
Beneath us explosions as we going up, dreamy expectations no longer tied up. consumed, fall back on our destiny, deflated balloons, a suddenly broken need but faith, avoiding the promises I'd rather not wait. Let's enter the race, no beginning, no end. Separate beating points, no damage to man. Look at us building invisible walls. Do you really believe that it'll protect us at all? Go on, enter the bubble, the invisible world, living the dogma, repeating the let's enter the race, no beginning, no end. Separate meeting points, no damage to man.
Lawrence Whitehead on orchestration, conducting, recording his orchestra. Absolutely beautiful treatment. Well done, Lawrence, and thank you so much. So the next track on the album is Bells in My Head, which is another tune that I don't think I did it justice when it came out on Yikes. Just wasn't feeling what I'd done, but now I've been able to really go inside the mix down and get happy with it. So got a couple of questions about it and a little comment from Elsa. Roger Berkeley, long time listener to the podcast from the very beginning, says the track is so nice, Bells in My Head, and my question is, why didn't it make it onto the vinyl at the time? Well, it was simply that I was never happy at all with the mix down. I just didn't get it, and I've got it this time. So I really enjoyed working on this. It all just kind of came together like most of the album really this time around. And Greg Glover said, I purchased Yikes on CD and it had the original Bells in My Head on it, yet if I stream the album on Spotify, it's missing. What's the reason behind this? That was an absolute mistake by our digital department 10 years ago. It should have been on there. I didn't even realise. Actually, no, we weren't on Spotify 10 years ago. My guess is it was uploaded referring to the vinyl track list. Anyway, Greg says, it's an awesome revisit of the track. Let's hear what Elsa's got to say about it. Where are you, Elsa?
Bells in My Head. This song has me so nostalgic for Billion Dollar Gravy and earlier house tracks with a really amazing soul diva doing the vocals. I've tried to do it justice.
Oh, come on, Elsa. You did better than that. Does it really sound like a house track, though? That's interesting. Let's have a listen to the tune. Bells in My Head featuring Elsa Esmeralda from Crikey. My name is London Electricity. And I think I've finally kind of reached into the tune and really exposed and drawn out the kind of 1980s post-disco. I'll tell you what inspired this is that tune Kissing with Confidence. If you don't know it, you should get to know it. It's awesome. And if you don't know, I wrote the lyrics to this. It was all about me coming to terms with having tinnitus. The tinnitus is the bells in my head. And I learnt to love my tinnitus because I knew it was going to be with me forever. I'm glad I did. And that's what Elsa's singing about. Yep, I've got bells in my bed as well as in my head.
You leave the night. In the dark, you are shining so bright. Rushing sound like a river below.
That's me leaving a nightclub with rushing sounds in my ears.
Make me see deeper to dreamland I go. All alone with the bells in my head. Just me and the bells in my when the bells start to sing, I forget everything. I'm at the bit of a string with every little thing.
Okay, got a few shouts for this tune. Electricity Will Keep Me Warm. First off, let's see what Elsa's got to say about it. She says it better than me.
Electricity Will Keep Me Warm is a very sad breakup song. I wrote it with a broken heart, and I brought a very simple sketch of it to the very first recording session or writing session that I had with Tony for what was to become Yikes. I played it to him, and surprisingly, he started crying.
I do that.
I was really blown away. One, because I wasn't sure it was that good of a song, or that it communicated to somebody else other than me. And two, the fact that he showed his emotions, that really surprised me. And that made for a really personal and beautiful set of writing sessions, because I instantly felt like this is someone that when we write, I could relate to on a very personal level, regardless of age differences or difference in background or whatever. So that's a really beautiful memory. And I'm really happy that seems to have talked to a lot of people, the lyrics in the song. That really feels beautiful to me.
Oh, that's lovely, Elsa. You had a lot of heartbreaks, didn't you? Anyway, Daniel Power, all the way from China, mainstay of drum and bass. Yes, Daniel. He says, how long did you spend making the Yikes album? I think probably a year and a half, which is fairly standard for me for an album. And he says, how much of a role did you play with lyric writing during this album? And what was the story you were trying to tell with this song? Well, actually, Elsa wrote the lyrics for this, as she said. And the mix down originally for this was it was nice, it was really good, but I got the 808 too loud, and I remember it hitting the compressor when it was being mastered, and I was going, oh no, I really should have sorted that out. Marcelo DMB says, when working on Crikey and redoing all the mixing stuff, how many times have you thought I could have done this and that differently? And what things would you have done differently? Like adding other synths, drum patterns, or even rewrite a whole song? Well, I'm sort of telling you as I go along, and like, yeah, with this one, I just kind of, it was pretty good, but I knew I could actually improve it. Anyway, have a listen, decide for yourselves. And Rob Newman 666 asks, do you remember Brixton Academy when you launched the album and how loud it was? Yes, that was amazing. And for those that weren't there, Elsa wheeled me on stage in a wheelchair to a piano, and we had a little kind of like cassette player with the think brake on it, mic'd up, played that. I started the piano and Elsa sang it, and we were both in pyjamas. And then when this finished, I went from the piano to the decks with my Zimmer frame. Don't ask me why. Maybe I was actually seeing what the future was going to be like for me, because I've been on crutches for the last over the last few weeks, month or so. All right. Oh, now Nick Plain wrote in and said, I know you wanted to redo this album with a view to improving on the original, using your 10 years more production experience, but were there any tracks that you found particularly hard to improve, as the original was so good? Yeah, this one. Had a little fight. Now, I'm not sure if I've improved it or if I've spoiled it, but this is my take in 2021. This was definitely a flow state production. I wasn't thinking at all when I made this. I was just, as Hitchcock used to say, emoting. And listening to it now, if I had to give you a reference point for this tune, I'd say, and it's very different musically, but emotionally it resonates with, for me, Moments in Love by Art of Noise. If you don't know that tune, get to know it. It's an absolute foundation tune for dance music, for electronic music. It's gorgeous. I keep hearing Degs over this now. Now check out the ending, because you don't normally get to the end in clubs, but I really like this ending. Check it out. Oh. What is this? Okay, so Christy Roseblade Barg. Nice. Got some good names this time. How is it that even though Yikes is 10 years old, most of the originals feel so fresh? And why do you feel the need to remix or remake some of the tracks when the originals are stonks in the first place? Not a question, but sing Meteorites. No, I'm not going to sing Meteorites. It is way too difficult. I'll leave that to Elsa. So Gaz DMB says, what is it about Meteorites that you've never been keen on? Looking back on it now with 10 years sort of difference, I can appreciate it a lot more. At the time, this tune was definitely the most hard work. So the opposite of what I call a flow state tune, where it just all comes spewing out. This required a hell of a lot of intellectual application, technical application, and a lot of crowbars and shoehorns to actually get the mix working and to get the song working, because it's quite an unusual song with unusual parts. But I think we got it, and it's been really, really popular. I've always been a bit mean to it, I think. C. Wally Takeo says, have you come to terms with how awesome Meteorites is? I remember you saying it was too cheesy. I think so. I think I have, actually. I do feel very proud of it. And he says, was there any point where you hit a block while producing the album and then broke through it? Or was it a smooth, creatively consistent process? Big up from Canada. We love you, Tony. Thank you very much. There's no album that's ever a smooth, creatively consistent process. You have kind of bits where it really flows and you're like, yeah, I'm smashing through this. And then you have times when you just listen to it all and you think, what was I doing when I wrote that? And you can't see it. So you have to wait until you can see it and feel it again before you do any more on it. So it's a bumpy road. It's a roller coaster. And Aaron Arbiter says, what was it like witnessing Elsa fly through space like a meteorite? Well, she really took the concept and ran with it. It's called Meteorites because the original sketch that I sent Elsa when she was still in Sweden was, I wrote it during the Perseid meteor storm, and my studio in Crystal Palace, like this one really, was in the top of my house, and I was looking outside and I could see the old shooting star, and I was like, yeah, I'll call it Meteor Shower. Let's see what Elsa says about it.
Meteorites. I love the song Meteorites now, but I do remember it was a bit of a trek to get it all done.
You're not kidding.
It started with Tony sending me a sketch that he'd just named Meteor Showers, and I used that title and built a love song around it, loosely based on someone I was seeing at the moment. And I remember my lyrics were quite dark initially. They had sort of a completely different connotation. It wasn't really a love song, it was almost like a scary love song.
A hate song.
And we ended up putting a lot of mutual effort into both the lyrics and the song, and obviously Tony put a lot of work into that production as well to make it into a pop song, a hit, something that would be uplifting on the dance floor. I'm really happy with it.
You weren't heartbroken, Elsa. What's wrong? Okay, so let's listen to the updated version of Meteorites on Crikey featuring Elsa Esmeralda. And if you were around 10 years ago, you would know that there was a version of this in Japanese language that was made and released in Japan, and it became quite a big hit. It was called London's Tokyo, and even made it onto karaoke machines. And I've done a full track teardown of this, where for better or for worse I expose all of the parts. Ooh, missus. Am I just a potato? That's how I hear that line. Sorry, Elsa.
In my observatory, I study the data, elemental force. I switch up the force field, downgrade my defenses. One speeding star. Don't know where you're from, but I know you can far. Look at your eyes, the meteorites. Maybe we're meant to crash from the sky.
Shout to Kenny Tin Spider, who made the incredible animation for Meteorites.
Don't know where you're from, but I know you can far. Look at your eyes, the meteorites. Maybe we're meant to crash from the sky, to meet eye to eye, like meteorites. Don't know where you're from, but I know you've come far. Look at your eyes, the meteorites. Maybe we're meant to crash from the sky, to meet eye to eye, like meteorites.
Track 10 is Love the Silence. And this is another tune that I didn't nail, but I feel like I've really got into it for this one. Aaron Kowalski Aston says, I can't believe Yikes is 10 years old already. Still one of my favourite albums. I love the track Love the Silence. But what's the story behind the single male vocal at 5 minutes 30 seconds? Keep up the the good work. That is news to me, Aaron. I don't recall that at all. Anyway, my memories of this, I think the actual song and the chords and the harmony and everything has got quite a Steely Dan influence. And I really, really enjoyed the kind of journey of the tune. Climaxes with these wall of sound distorted guitars towards the end. Let's see what Elsa has to say about this, because I, for one, I remember the writing sessions of this, and it was quite interesting.
Remember, I had made a sketch on top of the loop that Tony had given me, and it basically had most of the song already on it, but I didn't think it was ready, and I was too afraid to show him. I sort of said, as I was walking out the door, we'd already done some other tune, but I was too afraid to show him this track. So I just said, oh yeah, but it's not ready. I have another sketch, but it's not for now. I don't know, it's probably nothing. But he insisted I played it, and turned out he really loved it. So yeah, another proof to me that I shouldn't be such a coward about showing my stuff to other people.
I remember when we were brainstorming the kind of, I guess, concept or topic of this song, and what was in my mind was, in 2004 I did the Red Bull Music Academy in Cape Town, and there was a house party one night, and we all went to it, and it literally, the floor of the room that had the sound system in it, everybody dancing, I thought it was going to give way. It was so packed, there was no air, it was really hot, very claustrophobic, and that was kind of the scene I set for Elsa. And if you listen to her lyrics, sure enough, that's exactly what she interpreted, but she interpreted it in the context of a dream. Check it out. Dad rock moment. Track 11 is Fault Lines. And this was a tune, this song that I wrote at the piano. And I had this concept going around my head, this idea of fault lines and how they apply to geography, geology, disaster, destruction, but also how they can appear in a relationship. And while I was writing this at the piano, I kept toying with two notes a semitone apart to represent the kind of discord and breaking of a fault line. And then two notes that were 11 notes apart, which is like a semitone plus an octave. So toying between those two, and that really is what evolved this music and this harmony here. So it resolves. And the song, I wrote the song definitely in a kind of flow situation because I wasn't even thinking, it just came out. And when lyrics come out like that, it's amazing. You suddenly feel like you are a half decent songwriter. So I wonder what Elsa thought about it, because I just gave her the song and I said, you sing it. So she did.
Fault Lines. It's another masterpiece of Tony's, a ballad.
Checks in the post.
There's not much else to say. It's one of those songs that's really easy to sing because it just flows so naturally.
Yeah, at the time I remember, Elsa, I remember you saying that it was really difficult to sing because you hadn't written it. Do you remember that? Probably not. Okay, so here we go, Fault Lines featuring Elsa Esmeralda. And I think that's my last tune that I'm going to play from Crikey, which is Yikes, 10 years old. Here we go.
Buried deep beneath the ground, out of sight and out of sound. One day it will appear. Here's the richest vein of love. I didn't think before I dug. I hit the fault line instead. in my mind. There's no point in taking sides when fault lines come apart. Both sides slip away. Fault lines, I can hear the sound of earthquakes all around, as one by one statues fall. Fault lines drawn up in the sand, now slipping through my hands. Rain, my gray, time slips away. As one by one statues fall. Fault lines drawn up in the sand, now slipping through my hands. Rain, my grain, time slips away.
Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this journey through Crikey, Yikes, 10 years old, with me and Elsa Esmeralda, and you asking the questions. I'm just going to wrap it up with a few words from Elsa and from a couple of you. Jeffy Bagram, after all this time in the scene, Tony, what inspires you? Well, the unknown, surprises, and my eternal search for the perfect chord progression. That's what inspires me. The higher power of music. And Kev Rama says, Tony, your work on Artistry is simply sublime. Oh, go on, another check in the post. When creating this album, do you draw any inspiration from anyone or anything in particular? No. I mean, each track is inspired by all sorts of different things. Over to Elsa.
So it's hard to sum up 10 years. I mean, it's a long time. I've been doing so many different things during these years. I've worked with my own jewellery brand. I've taught silversmithing and goldsmithing. I've also taught music. I've worked with teenagers. I've made music with other people. I've written my own music and started making my own music productions. I nowadays am creating something that I call singer-songwriter futurism.
Oh, I like the idea of that.
I'm really excited that I'm going to be releasing some new material later this year, so I urge you all to join me on that new adventure. I will see you soon.
Yes, Elsa. I've got to say, Elsa, it's fantastic going through these tunes and just hearing how much work you put into this album and how much work we put in together. It was a real journey. And I just want to tell you how grateful I am that you trusted me to go on the journey with me. And to anyone who's got this far into the podcast, just to reiterate, yes, I am moving on from taking a kind of a practical hand in hospital records. But fear not, I will probably do the occasional hospital podcast as a kind of guest presenter, but I'm going to be doing my own podcasts. So keep your eyes and ears peeled. Subscribe to my Instagram channel or my Facebook. I'll be messaging about it when it's ready to go. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel because that's where they're going to be appearing, as well as all of your favourite streaming outlets. Anyway, I'm Tony Coleman, known as London Electricity. It's been an absolute pleasure across the last 25 years and across the last 10 years we've been focusing on. And the thing I'm most grateful for is you lot for coming on this journey with me, with Hospital, with all the amazing staff at Hospital. And the team at Hospital is really quite outstanding, and I feel completely confident in handing over the baton. Otherwise I wouldn't be handing it over. So keep following Hospital, you'll be in good hands for the future. I'm out of here, and I'll see you on my next podcast. Whoopie-doo. What's it going to be like? Well, I'll have no editorial control put on me, so I can say whatever I want, which I'm looking forward to. Anyway, peace out, one love.